Hello, everyone. It's me, Patrick, and I'm here with Amy Shaw. I'm in Chicago, and she is in Texas. Hello.
Hey.
Hey. Hey. Okay. So everybody is in the chat room, and I see people in the chat room. So Amy and I have been hard at work on creating this magazine and website and community. So tonight we're going to talk about some of the things that we will achieve and accomplish through this project, and also we'll take some of your questions in the chat room. So if you have any questions at any time during the discussion, then just feel free to ask. So, Amy, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm wonderful. All right. So, first of all, let's just kind of come. How was the idea for the Urban Shaman magazine born? What? I know this, but what kind of needs did you see uh, not being filled by other shamanic websites?
Well, there were several issues. First of all, I think it's just a general misunderstanding of what shamanism is and what shamans should look like. I consistently will get people, as soon as I say I'm a shaman, they automatically know, oh, what Native American tribe have you studied under, or something like this. So it's this huge misconception. So a lot of what I have to do actually when I'm out in the public is educating people. Another problem is that, even in my shamanic circles, the younger people that are more newly initiated, they're struggling to find mentors and elders. They don't know how to access them or how to identify who, really is appropriate for them, who resonates with them. So that's an ongoing struggle, just the access. And then people that are just looking for shamans to, help them in their own lives. It's very difficult to access. So I've had a lot of people that will also ask me, I'm looking for shaman in my local area and I don't know how to find them.
Yeah.
So all of these things, and just given the resources that are out there already, for shamans, people in the shamanic community, I felt like, they were lacking in a lot of the ways that I needed. And yeah, I just had a vision to create something different to
Well,
open up the conversation.
and that's great because there's like a lack of open conversation and dialogue, that where people can feel free to really talk about what's really going on with them. Now you know the difficulties that I personally have had on Facebook groups and in shamanism groups, and the questions that you're not allowed to ask, and the things that you're not allowed to talk about, and the articles that you're not allowed to link to. It was just kind of an oppressive environment.
Mm-hmm.
So I, in the creation of the magazine, and in addition to the dynamic community around it, it's very overwhelming when you go to a shaman website and you're just hit with a wall of links and websites and broken links and discussion forums that don't work, and uh, so where if you're new to shamanism, where are you going to go, because it's very inaccessible, right?
Yes, right. Yep. And there's a lot of people out there that are doing a lot of good work. There's within the shamanic community, there's a handful of well-known names. Almost everybody would know the names, if we shared them. But those people are inaccessible, really, because that's what they do. They're teachers and they write books, and they're inaccessible for us to have a one-on-one relationship with them. So I know that there's a lot of people that are doing really good work. Some of them have been in practice also for decades, but because they're not out there writing books or getting a lot of interviews, people don't know that they're there. Maybe in their local community they've built up somewhat of a reputation, but that doesn't really extend out. And I really would like to expose some of these people, give them the exposure to inspire other people that there's a lot more going on in the shamanic community than than it seems. It's really underground in a way.
Well, and that's one of the things I want to talk about. Let's talk about one. I don't want to name names here, but let's talk about one website that says that it's the resource for all things shamanic, and you and I know that that's really not necessarily true. that that urban shamanism is kind of I wouldn't say necessarily looked down upon, but it is in its infancy. It is kind of new. So in the creation of the articles, the premium content, the video interviews, and the articles and all of that, that'll be one aspect of it. But also, let's kind of talk about the community in it, and how people will be able to create their own blogs and their own they'll be able to have their own profile, their own they'll be able to manage their own friends list. They'll be able to send each other private messages. They'll be able to create their own groups. They'll be able to participate in forums. So it'll function a little bit differently than like a Facebook group. Everybody will, we won't have to, be so restrictive on upsetting delicate sensibilities, because people, like in Facebook, in a Facebook group, you if you don't like somebody in that group, there's really no way to mute them. But in our community, you'll be able to pick and choose, kind of like your own little tribe. You're a subset of the larger tribe, and then giving voice to people who don't have one currently.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's very exciting.
Yes, very exciting. And let's talk about one of the things that we have planned. How we're gonna create a system to match knowledgeable shamanic teachers or elders with initiates. Can we talk about how there's kind of a need for something like that?
Well, yeah, there's definitely a need for that. I mean, I kind of touched on a little bit earlier, but definitely there's a lot of initiates out there. There's much more initiates out there than there are, elders and mentors, people that, are learned enough and experienced enough to take on, a preceptor or mentor, so I think that as this shamanic impulse really intensifies and grows, there's going to be much, much greater need for people to find elders and mentors.
Yeah, I mean, because I've heard from people like this too. When I was initiated, I really didn't really get any help from anybody, and I basically had to start making YouTube videos and saying, "Look, what the hell am I supposed to do?" I mean, and that's really not the right way to go about it. You really, I learned my lesson. You really don't want to make these things as public as I did.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have met such wonderful people, nor would I have met you, or this project probably wouldn't even be happening. So within the community, everybody will be able to have their own profile page, and you can say, look, I'm a shaman, I'm a shamanic practitioner, I'm a healer, I'm a minister, even, or I'm wanting to learn more about it, or I'm an initiate, or right. so people will be able to define clearly and succinctly for themselves what they are. So if you run across a teacher that you resonate with, you'll be able to contact them, and let's move into the inaccessibility of shamanism, and the perception that shamanism can be scary. And can we talk about how we're planning to make it not so fearful or afraid? You don't have to be afraid of what's going on.
Right. And I think there's going to be certain people that are going to be afraid of it regardless because it's something new, and people, tend to be afraid of something new. They haven't been exposed to it. They don't know what to expect. I'm not so sure that those are the kind of people that are, going to subscribe to our channel. I mean, they probably aren't because they don't even know enough to want to subscribe. But I think that it's really important. Part of what we're doing in this project is to increase the discussion, to open up the discussion, to understand shamanism in terms of an archetype and not the stereotype. And in that way, you're talking about different profiles. The shamanic impulse expresses itself so uniquely in each person. And we all have our personalities, our backgrounds, our astrological, constellations. I mean, the whole thing just makes each person unique. Where they live, the particular culture that they come from, all of that stuff plays into it. And when we really narrow the stereotype to think that, this is what a shaman in North America, for instance, should look like, and we put it in this box, nobody's really going to fit in it. Nobody's going to fit in that box. So I think understanding what the shamanic impulse is and understanding and talking about it in terms of an archetype and how that expresses itself is a big part also of building this community and inviting more people in to sort of understand that, hey, maybe what I am doing, I might not be a shaman, but it's shamanistic. Maybe parts of my practice or parts of my expression are shamanistic. And those people are more than welcome, to be in our community, to build their own practices and expand their understanding and to, offer what they know and who they are to other people as well. So I think that's a big part of it. And I think that the more the conversation continues and expands, I think that the fear will just naturally start to be dispelled. And we're still new. Even though shamanism has been, in the United States, 3 or 4 decades now, it's still new. People still don't know what a shaman is, what a shaman does. And I think we're in an exciting time that we actually get to contribute to this conversation and really help to define that.
And while we're on the topic of the stereotype of a shaman, through my own YouTube channel, I've gotten to meet shamans from all over the world, and they wear baseball caps and jeans and things of that nature. So that the stereotype of the shaman is that they are. My camera's slowing down. Am I coming through okay?
I can see you.
Okay, let me. I'm still kind of slowing down over here. All right, give me a second, fellas. All right. So, okay. So, the stereotype of the shaman. So when you go on some shaman websites, it's all like feathers and headdresses and all of that. And that, in urban shamanism, we can't really do that. Or
yeah.
We can't really do that. So, and stereotypes themselves are really kind of dangerous, and we should be more open and accepting, and kind of reject those stereotypes. So in this magazine, in this project, we're going to try to express, we need to be more accepting of everybody.
Right, and hold the shamanic impulse itself in integrity, I think just contribute to the conversation moving forward about what shamanism really should look like in the United States, but not just the United States. I mean, certainly worldwide in other urban areas as well. In post-industrial modern culture, whether that's here or it's in England or Ireland or Australia or wherever. And that's going to look different in all of those places. But, hopefully we can provide the platform that people can engage in these discussions and, open themselves up to the idea that shamanism doesn't have to be that sort of archaic, stereotypical view.
Right. So let's talk a little bit before we go into the next topic. Let's tell people when it launches.
Well, go ahead.
The website and the community launches on May 1st. On May 1st.
Yay! I'm so excited. I've been working really hard behind the scenes for 3 months now, Patrick, and I know that you know have been working really hard too. So I'm really excited to get to this point. So yes,
Um,
May 1st is our target date, and I'm excited.
and also in the description of this video, there's a link to the Urban Shaman website where you can sign up for the email list. Signing up for the email list will notify you when it launches, and also it'll give you previews of content leading up to the launch date. So it's a really good idea to sign up for the email list. We're not going to barrage people with emails, but until we're open, because we don't want people to subscribe if it's not done right.
Right, right.
I mean, people were messaging me this morning and we're like, Patrick, how do I pay? How
Yeah,
do I sign
yeah,
up? How do
yeah.
I sign up?
I'm excited that there's interest, but yes, I mean we have integrity, and we want to make sure that our content is strong and rich, and yes, so we're
Yes,
working hard on that.
and let's talk a little bit about the subscription price and paying the subscription. Doing something like this is it's not cheap. So
Right.
what people will be paying for it is the curated premium content, articles and video content that we're producing, but also it allows you access to a safe, supportive community where all of your personal details aren't necessarily known by Facebook or Google or anything like that. You're kind of in control of what you share. You're not required to even use your real name. You can use your spirit name or something like that. But we won't tolerate bullying or harassment or anything like that. You and I have talked. By making it a subscription service, people are free to choose when they want to engage, and also when they want to disengage, when they no longer want to be a part of the ever growing knowledge base and
Right.
and and community.
Yeah. Yes.
So
And I'm really excited because I think that the foundation that we're building is already strong. So I the potential for it and how it's going to grow and evolve is just very, very exciting to me. One of the things that I would like to see happen, is even private invitations to subscribed members, for live chats similar to what we're doing now, but with practitioners. So that could be a question and answer period, and they have an hour or 2 hours, a practitioner captive there that's willing to, answer their personal questions, answer their, practice questions, just sort of sit with them and offer that to them. Different things like that are in my vision, and I'm excited about that opportunity. I mean, I would have loved to have that, as I'm sure you would have early on in your initiation. So I think that also is a very valuable um, thing that we can offer.
yes, and let's talk about. I would like to address this now so that everybody will know kind of like what our stance is on certain things. We don't want to criticize or put down any shamanic practitioner or any practitioner at all. It's that's not what it's about. One of the criticisms is that fake shamans or anybody that's calling themselves a shaman is not a shaman. Now, there's some very good reasons why it's not a good idea to run around calling yourself a shaman. I've learned that the hard way. But let's talk about the myth of the fake shaman. In some of those groups on Facebook, there's a lot of hand wringing over fake shamans. Do you think this is scaring people away from shamanism?
Well, it's not scaring me away, but I think potentially people that don't know enough about it can get nervous about it because they get mixed messages. You could get someone over here saying I'm a shaman, and then this person over here saying, oh, anybody that calls themselves a shaman, you better run. You know, so I think there's a lot of mixed messages, and for people who aren't really firmly in the shamanic community, that definitely can be a deterrent. And I think that the Urban Shaman Project can help dispel, not only the fear that people have, but also some of the myths and the, stereotypical concepts that we have. And, you and I both know we've heard all of it, all of it and then some. Shamans shouldn't charge money. Shamans shouldn't this, shamans that, shamans. What they should and shouldn't look like. And I think that, by offering a platform to allow people to explore and discuss these issues, it's just ultimately going to build a stronger, more cohesive, and allied shamanic community. And out of that will naturally come dispelling that idea of fake versus real. And sort of, because there are practitioners out there that, for whatever reason, call themselves a shaman, and they may not be. That does happen. I don't think that it's as prevalent as people think it is, but it does happen. And I think when we start to strengthen the definition of what a shaman is, those people will naturally just kind of fall away, and they'll say, oh, well, I don't think that's me or what I'm doing, so maybe I'm not a shaman. And maybe they'll stop calling themselves a shaman. So I don't think we really have to worry about it.
Well, and you bring up a good point. I mean, we talked about the unexamined guru complex, and you have been on the phone with me when I've cried, and I'm like, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I don't want to do this anymore. I don't, so I'm really pleased that we're going to have a dynamic community of support for people. There's one of the things that every shamanic initiate goes through, which is alarming and it's scary, is when you think that you're Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean,
we talked about that this week too.
Yeah, and it's a natural, normal part of the initiation process. You're gonna think you're the second coming of Jesus Christ, especially if you're from, this Western culture, or if you were raised in a Christian household. That's part of how you're initiated.
But and here's how dangerous that is, though, because when you're an initiate and you have this happening, you're going to go to mental health because everybody in your family and your community is going to push you into the mental health system, and the mental health system is going to label you as psychotic, some form of psychosis, and they're going to want to prescribe some type of antipsychotic medication, and so the whole thing's going to get addressed like that. And the people around you start to be hostile to you. They're intolerant of your delusions, and if this goes on for a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, it starts to become pathological, and the person can actually, enter into this pathological state of failed initiation. The result of that can be death, by many different means that we won't get into, but it's serious. It can result in jails. It can result in being institutionalized. It can result in being homeless. It's very, very serious. And so for these young initiates, if they just had an elder that could come along and say, you know what, that Jesus thing, that's normal, but let's work with that, and really not label them as psychotic, but call it what it is, and assist them with, reining that in and doing the work that they need to do to strengthen themselves and their position. That's all good, right? That's all good. That's how it should be. We don't have the model of that in our culture. We don't have it. So I think as the shamanic impulse starts to really grow and rise up, we're going to see more and more a redefining of our mental health system. It's already happening. You and I have talked about that a lot. It's crumbling. One brick at a time, it's crumbling.
Well, and all, there are hospitals now that are allowing shamans into hospitals.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I mean, it's thank God for Michael Harner, because if it hadn't have been for Michael Harner and his wife, and I don't often give her credit, but she was a big helper behind the scenes in that as well. So we all everybody practicing shamanism today really owes Michael, because if it hadn't been for Michael, Michael makes it pretty clear it would have gone extinct. I mean, it was on its shamanism was on its way out. Addressing how everybody will be able to have their profile, and everybody will be able to, there'll be status updates. There'll be that. What are some things that we want to? Is there anything on the webs on? Okay, so let me talk about this. There's one website that has an article about how you can't take a class and become a shaman. Well, they have an advertisement on that same website right next to that article, and the advertisement says, become a shaman, take this
Mm-hmm.
class. So we're not doing advertising because we want to kind of retain that integrity,
Well, that's my goal. It's been my goal since the very seed of inception of this project, that I really did not want to have to rely on advertising dollars. And that really is just because if that's your main income, then you're open to whoever wants to give you money. And it's not that I want to be exclusive. It's that I don't want to run into the issues of my integrity or the integrity of the project, coming into question. Um, I've seen it happen so many different times, in spiritual. Again, I'm going to refrain from naming out particular ones, but I've seen that happen. Even teachers that they've had come, teach for their organization, who have later been exposed, in some pretty nasty ways. And so, yeah, it's better to just, I feel, not align or, even have that become an issue. And who wants to be, bombarded by ads constantly? I think we get it enough everywhere. We don't,
Well, you and I looked at some websites while we were trying to figure something out, and I was like, this is going to give me a seizure.
Yeah, the flashing ad banners and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
The rotating, I would prefer to not do that to people.
Yeah. And also, letting people identify that they are a student or they are an initiate.
Well, and that's the thing. If you're in shamanic practice and you want to advertise yourself, then subscribe to the Urban Shaman, and instead of putting up an ad, work your magic by showing people who you are. People will be attracted to you and they'll want to know more about you when you're interacting. So that, to me, is the natural, organic way to advertise. It's by word of mouth and by demonstrating through interacting with people who you are. That's our advertising model, right?
well, and while we're on the subject, it's an equal footing. You don't have to pay $1,500 to get an ad.
Exactly.
If you're just starting out. I mean, I know that when you're initiated, that you have to do the work. I mean, you have no choice but to do the work. And getting to do the work, you could be overwhelmed with, I don't know where to begin. I don't know how to get started. I don't know. In my case, I started on my friends and my family, and they thought I was crazy, but I didn't stop. And then I went to a bar and started doing psychic readings, and it just, I mean, and then it just happened.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get started?
In shamanism, or
how did you start doing the work?
Well, that's an interesting question, because I feel like I've always done the work on some level. It just looked different ways, and that goes back to the archetypal view of shamanism. I mean, I was a social worker up until I had to quit working in 2006, and so it's a systemic way of doing it. But Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that that was shamanism. I'm saying it's hard for me to find a distinction between that and where I am today. When I started applying like the gifts, I guess you would call it, the skills, all that stuff that you get through the initiation process, the wisdom and knowledge. And when I started to apply that in a way that was like very narrowly defined as shamanism, I would say it was when I became a student at the Foundation for Shamanic Studies. And really what led me into that is my own personal life circumstances. I don't know if, people are familiar with me or my channel or my story, but, I have an adult son with autism who was suffering from really severe psychogenic seizures. And the mental health system said, we don't know what to do. And the, neurology doctor said, go see the psychiatrist. And so it was, this was happening and we weren't getting any solutions. So I started looking for a shaman and I couldn't, it was inaccessible. I would ask this person, this person, this person. And then when I finally found a shamanic practitioner and explained the situation, they didn't want to help. They didn't want to help. They were like, whoa, no, that's, sorry, we don't do that kind of stuff. And then I went to another one, and it was the same thing. And I said, well, you know what? I guess I have to become it then, in essence. I guess I have to figure it out.
Yeah. The shamans that I talk to, I have some interesting stories of private things that have happened to me that I think only you know about. You know all my secrets. So, some really bizarre, crazy stuff. And a lot of the shamans that I talk to, it was kind of a DIY, not a whole lot of assistance.
Yeah.
Particularly in America. Other cultures. Well, and while we're on the subject, let's talk about how hard it is for a modern American shaman to initiate, to survive, much less make it to the point where they're actually practicing. Damn near impossible.
Yes, extremely, extremely hard. I think that is becoming, well, I'll say this. My hope is that we can contribute as the Urban Shaman Project in decreasing the casualty that can often happen in failed initiation, just by providing that platform and providing people access to elders and sort of like preparing the way. I mean, as this mental health system slowly starts crumbling and crumbling, what's really in place to take its place or to like hold those people? I mean, it used to be people were institutionalized for life if they had, severe mental illness, any kind of psychosis, any kind of like major mood disorder, bipolar. Those people were institutionalized for life. Now, no, we've let them all out. We've said that they have rights. Thank God, right? They have rights, and but a lot of them do end up homeless and in prison, and you know, So I have to wonder, if they had that influence, the shamanic influence early on in their initiation process, if things would be different for them.
Well, when you are connected to the spirit realm, you've got to handle your shit. I was telling another shaman the other day, she contacted me kind of upset and kind of in a panic. And I was very loving and very kind. And I was like, look, you got to get a hold of yourself. Things are, the rules of reality work a lot differently for us than they do for people who are not initiated, who have not experienced that. You kind of have to be able to stand in the middle of a hurricane and say, oh, isn't this fun? Do you feel the wind on your face?
That must have been the same lady I spoke to this week, because I had one like that this week too. And it happens. It happens. Yeah.
Unfortunately for me, I documented my whole awakening process as horrible and wonderful and beautiful and scary and a lot of people a lot of that it should be private. I wouldn't advise anybody to do what I did. I wouldn't advise anybody to do what I did. Don't do that. Now you have a safe place with the Urban Shaman magazine and community for you to initiate, learn, grow, make friends, and become a practitioner and start practicing yourself. I'm really excited to give people an advantage that hasn't been given to
Right.
shamans or
I'm super excited about it too. And, I mean, as you're talking, that also is one of my visions is, I mean, it's going back to what I was saying earlier about the handful of, well-known people in the shamanic community that have been doing it for decades, writing books. I mean, well-known. I want to try to, my goal, although those people are an appeal, they're a draw. When you hear the name, then people are drawn to that because of who they are and what they've done. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I really want to offer a voice to people that aren't out there writing books and doing interviews, and even to initiates. They have something to offer us too. Every single client that I have that comes to me for shamanic services, I learn from them. And it will always be that way as long as I'm doing this work. I will always be learning from each and every person. And so I talked with you a little bit how, I was going to partner with the Shades of Awakening community. And, they have a little bit different, they're a very similar thing, but their language is a little bit different. It's less shamanic. It's less strong than I think our language is going to be. But, they don't really call it initiation. They call it spiritual crisis, this type of thing. But I don't see them really as competition to us in any way. It's more like we're over here and the mental health system is over there. And Shades is kind of standing the gap in between, which I think is a beautiful thing. And I would love to partner with them. I would love to have, our members and their members as well, have the opportunity to share their stories, their initiation stories and the struggles. And, I think that that's part of the learning for all of us.
Okay, so let's talk about something really fun for everybody that's watching tonight. Everybody that joins the email list today this is fun, guys. Everybody who joins the email list today, up until midnight tonight, will be entered into a drawing to be a part of the beta test of the community. How does that sound, Aimee?
Sounds very cool. Yes, that's exciting.
That's exciting. So you have until midnight tonight to sign up for the email list. Go to theurbanshaman.org. And as part of the beta test, you're going to be able to have some of the first profiles on the site. So there's also the ability to earn points and badges for all that you do on the site, how much you read, how many people you talk to, how many things you do. So I'm excited to explore the beta test with people. Won't that be fun?
Yes.
But so the beta testers, are we going to give them a free month for trying it out? I think we should.
Yeah, we haven't really discussed that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know the logistics of how that will work out. As you know, like the technical aspects aren't my strong suit, but I mean, that sounds great. So let's figure that out.
We'll figure it out. We'll make sure the beta testers get something. I'll come up with something, and you'll come up with something. I'd like to thank Mike for sending me a donation through the chat. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Because that's the only way that people can donate to your channel now, live chats. Maybe I should have a telethon someday. Okay, so May 1st is the launch date. we haven't really got into the specifics of it, but we talked about a target of a few articles a week, and at least one video interview
a week.
but we're also looking for content. We're also looking for people to contribute.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about who what we're looking for?
Well, I mean, we've kind of visioned, and we've kind of revisioned, and we've kind of revisioned again. And so at this point, I think that the project is much, much different than my original vision, and that's okay. If you go on the urbanshaman.org, there is a page, a submissions page that outlines specifically the areas of the topics, broadly, the broad areas of the topics, as well as like word counts. That was under the, idea that we were going to actually put together a digital magazine, like a flip book magazine. And I think we've kind of moved away from that idea. So I'm probably going to actually need to go in and revise some of those submission guidelines. I think the word count is going to be much less rigid, because we're not trying to fit text into a space. And I think that the things like deadlines and things like that are going to be much less rigid, because we're going into a model of a more open, free flow of information, which I'm really excited about. I think it's great. It's a good model, and I think it really fits what we're trying to do. But I think the general submission guidelines with the topics are probably pretty much going to be the same. It's not going to be really a free for all. Because we do want to stick to a shamanic container. So if you go onto the submission page, you can see the broad topics for the articles and things that we're looking for.
We're also looking for an ongoing investigative reporter, and the role of the investigative reporter would be, we would give them a topic and they would write about it.
Right. So that particular job will be somebody, part-time job. You could do it out of your home. As long as you have access to, all the modern accoutrements, that are required in this technological age. But it really would be identifying experts in that particular topic and reaching out to interview them, and culminating all of that information that you're getting into an authoritative article on that particular topic that fits into the shamanic understanding. So
yeah. Art, photography, personal stories, all of that. Since we want shamans and shamanic practitioners, and we want experienced teachers and experienced healers and all of that. And again, let's talk about how everybody's on the even playing field. The student is paying the same price as the master teacher. You can link to your website and all of that, but you'll be able to describe it on one page exactly what you do. And other people can choose if they want to work with you or if they want to learn more about you. We won't play favorite. It's okay. So how the community works is that the list of people on the site, the people who are most active on the site, those are the ones who go to the top of the list. Isn't that a cool thing?
Yeah.
So to make yourself more visible, just read articles, talk to people, post in the groups, and that's how that's done. You'll be rewarded for participating in the community.
Yeah.
So because if you're, and here's the whole reasoning behind that, is because who can afford a $1,500? If shamans aren't supposed to get paid for what they do, then how are people able to afford a $1,500 advertisement?
Exactly.
You know, shamanism won't make you rich. But before we go, you know, we've got about 10 more minutes left. Before we go, are making people safe on with this experience is I would consider our top priority. Making people feel that they won't be made fun of for asking questions or you know
Yeah. Well, you and I have talked about this extensively over the last year or so. Just the different Facebook groups that are out there, and you know, a lot of them have grown exponentially, which is a wonderful thing. But when you start getting 10,000, 12,000, 20,000 people in a group, I one of two things happens. You either have to get ultra controlling and start moderating it down to where nobody feels comfortable saying anything because they're always getting banned from the group or their stuff's getting removed or not approved, or it's a free for all. And then what happens is somebody has a legitimate question, and 200 comments later, and 180 of them are snarky or negative or in some way not helpful. And so I think that our hope is that by having a subscription model and not being, so inclusive to the general public, we can limit this to people who really are serious, in their spiritual path, and they're serious about shamanism, and they're coming at it with integrity and, a heart to learn, to grow, to teach, to be supportive of one another, you know.
and since everybody, okay, so let's talk about the things that we noticed in these communities. I don't think it's fair for one moderator to dictate what everybody else sees.
Right.
I didn't think that was fair. I mean, I was like, okay, if my stuff is getting removed, then other people's stuff has to be getting removed. Like I can't post in empath groups. The empath groups, they don't like to hear from me at all. You can't offer advice or help. But I did experiment. Oh gosh, I did experiment. I did make a post in an empath group, pretending to be really upset and sad and desperate and needing help, and that got approved.
Yeah.
So nothing happy, nothing uplifting, nothing
Right.
nothing like that. So
I think you and I have similar kind of philosophies and ideas about moderation and what that should look like, in terms of like an online community. But we've also talked about, ideally within this community of the urban shaman as it grows, that those kind of natural leaders will rise up, because I mean, you and I don't want to sit around all day and moderate when we have a lot of other stuff that we're doing just to make this thing, work and keep going. So I mean, it's like any community. I think that people will rise up out of it, who will want to take on that role and will do it well. But of course, we're going to have community rules and certain things, hate speech and bullying and meanness won't be tolerated. But everything else, pretty much, I think that we're open to.
yeah, I mean, and by leaving it into the hands of individual people for them to decide. If you don't want to hear about New Age shamans, then
Right.
you don't have to join the New Age shaman group.
Right.
If you don't like a particular style of a particular spirit worker, we won't I mean, we'll ban people if they get hateful or mean or accusatory, or if they start predator. I want to avoid, predator type behavior. Like if somebody is messaging everyone and saying you need to work with me, and we'll have a complete guide on what we would consider acceptable behavior. And that's just, and it's not even dictating, like dictating someone's behavior. I mean, in Chicago, I have to actually tell people, don't interrupt me when I'm talking to another person. Like in the South, you don't interrupt people, but in Chicago, you're talking to somebody. Oh, we don't care. We're just going to interrupt you. So we don't want to dictate to people exactly how to behave. We're going to assume that everybody is an adult and that everybody knows how to treat each other with respect, kindness, and tolerance, and have their experience with the site a self-moderating site.
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect. And before we go, we talk. Let me make sure we talked about everything we wanted to talk about.
Okay.
Shamanism not scary. The myth of the fake shaman. No advertising. Making it accessible. All right. So so let's talk about some of the things that we've already got in the pipeline for as far as content. We've got some articles coming up and some interviews coming up, and let's just go ahead and put that out there. We're looking for people to interview, and you don't have to be necessarily have written a book or practicing or whatever. I mean, how do you feel about just maybe picking a community member and giving them a video interview? Wouldn't that be fun?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, again, we've kind of visioned and revisioned and revisioned. So, we're in this kind of weird space too. I feel like we're clear, but we're also still open to, the expansion and growth of this and how that's going to look. But originally, when I was looking at a magazine model, I thought it would be really fun, to sort of cull ideas and discussions out of the community chat environment and include, each month sort of a feature. And we may still do that. We may find a different way to do that than I envisioned it, but I still absolutely think that that's important so that people, feel included, so that we're not sort of, creating these little cliques or social circles, but really are coming together as a community and honoring each other. I definitely do think that's important. And I think, Patrick, you and our work is sort of to bring people in from the outside, in a sense, to invite them to write articles or do interviews as well. And
right.
They may decide to join our community through that process, and they may not. But that's we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
And it would be really cool to have an ambassador in each city. I'll vote to be the Chicago ambassador. We need a Los Angeles ambassador. We need a New York. We need can you be the Austin ambassador?
Sure. I think I already am.
So where else do we need? We need Atlanta. We need Minneapolis. We need, and one of the groups that I've already created in the community is big city practitioners. And those of us from big cities, we have special challenges. And that's something that
you more so than me. But yeah.
Oh my God, Chicago. Oh my God. Why did I move?
The hot dogs, right? Aren't the hot dogs really good? I don't know. I've never been to Chicago.
Oh my God.
Hot dog stands? Or
no? Don't. Chicago is good to come for I'm not saying that I don't love it here. Of course I do love it here, but the energy, there's just so many people. There's so many people. There's just so many people.
Yeah, it's really intense.
You walk by them on the sidewalk and it's like, oh, like, whoa. And everybody who watches my channel, you guys hear the train going by all the time, every 5 minutes.
Right. We were joking about that before we got on, because I kind of live a little bit in suburbia. I mean, Austin's a big city, but it's not. It's a lot of green belt, and it's So, I got lawn mowers and leaf blowers going on, and you got trains and sirens going on in the background.
That's urban shamanism. We don't have crickets. We don't have crickets chirping, water rushing.
No, we don't live in teepees. And
Yeah. All right, Aimee. It was somebody did ask a question in the chat room that will we be listing retreats and workshops and events and all of that, or are we going to leave that up to the individual members of the community to post their own events and things like that? Will we cure? Well, I mean, because we really can't investigate every event and make sure that it's going to be something that people are going to enjoy.
Right.
So
I think
we might.
I mean, these are good questions, and people are going to want that, and I think it's a legitimate thing. And I think as time goes on, pretty quickly, actually, we'll evolve something. Whether that's like a community section where people can just post all that kind of stuff, I think would be great. And then if people are looking for that, particular thing in their area, they can easily just, click on that tab and there it is, So it's the technical issues that we have to figure out, I think, more than anything. But I mean, that seems legitimate to me, that people should be able to offer that.
And I would really love to people who have actually gone to retreats or have worked with particular spirit workers and share their experience. We'll just all learn from each other. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. So Aimee, we've talked an hour, so I think that's a good place to stop. I think we have covered everything.
Yeah. I'm so excited. I am so excited.
So again, if you weren't around for us to announce this, go to the urbanshaman.org and sign up for the email list. And everybody that signs up until midnight tonight, Eastern Standard Time. Let's come up with a Eastern Standard Time, American time. I know we have an international audience here, but all of those people will be entered into a drawing, which I will actually write out everybody's email on a piece of paper, and then we'll draw 11 names, and then those will be a part of the beta test of the community.
Okay.
So
I want to also mention that I plan to mirror this video on the actual Urban Shaman YouTube channel as well, just to have it there. But I mean, I think going forward in the future, we might, we're kind enough to use your platform and your channel, but in the future we might be more mainstreaming that into the Urban Shaman.
Absolutely. I'm going to continue to do my thing here on my channel, not necessarily the project that I just ended. I'm going in a completely different direction. And yes, so everybody go to the Urban Shaman YouTube channel. After you do a live stream, you can't edit the links. So there is a Urban Shaman YouTube channel. I was able to find it just by searching the Urban Shaman, and you'll find it.
Maybe in a comment or something we can leave a link to it.
Oh, actually, Aimee, we're being silly because we provide a link to the video in the welcome email so that you're on the channel.
Well, that is true. Yes, that is true.
Oh my gosh, we're just not thinking.
It's all this technical stuff. Your head gets jumbled.
I know, right? Well, I mean, after this is done, we're actually going to go back to work on the website.
Yeah.
So thank you, Aimee, for joining me. Thank you for letting me be a part of this wonderful project. I think it's really going to change people's lives for the better. It's a really great thing.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, and stick around. I'm going to talk to you. I'd like to thank all of you for tuning in tonight, and all of you for subscribing to my channel. Please go subscribe to the Urban Shaman YouTube channel. If you want to subscribe to Aimee's channel, if you're new to Aimee, go see The Soul Whisperer. She has a wonderful channel on YouTube. So,
thank you.
All right. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you guys for watching.
Thank you for watching.